Good afternoon, students. This is a class of SEM 2 MIL English. Our topic today is English communication and its types. As you can see here, English communication. I will be telling you about different types of communication, verbal, non-verbal mode of communication, and with special stress on non-verbal. And we will also look at reading skill, reading comprehension skill, which is a part of verbal communication. So let's start. I think you all know what is communication. Communication means passing information and meaning from one person or a group of persons to another. Let us look at a standard definition of communication. I have made this definition for you. Communication is a process of passing information and meaning from one person or a group of persons to another. As you can see here, it's a process of passing information as well as meaning. So communication does not mean only passing information. It also includes passing meaning in a way which is understandable to the receiver of the information. So you can see there are two poles to it. One side there is the giver of the information and meaning, and another side there is the receiver of information and meaning. So it happens in a systematic way, though sometimes we are not conscious of it, but as the definition goes, I will repeat this part, from one person or a group of persons to another. So it happens between the giver of the information to the receiver of the information. And how it is systematic, let's look at another definition. This one I have made once again. Communication is a process by which information is passed between individuals and groups by means of previously agreed symbols. So information, including meaning, is passed from one person or one group to another on the basis of a previously agreed symbols. Now this part may be a bit difficult for you to understand. How can we agree on what we are going to, what mode we are going to use in passing information? Like, do we agree with a person or a group of persons about the language we are going to use or about the words we are going to use? Because words in themselves, they do not mean anything. Words, the meaning of words are a matter of understanding and agreement between people. Like for example, in Bengali, we use the word bedal. Okay, what does this mean? For an English person, it means nothing. So it is an agreement between the Bengalis that this particular sound or this particular word, when it is written, it means a particular animal. This is an understanding or an agreement between the Bengalis, those who use Bengali as their medium of communication. Now for the English people, it is cat. Those who don't know English, for them cat does not mean anything. So for the English people, or those that use English as their medium of communication, for them this word means an animal. So yes, there is an understanding between people who communicate on the meaning of words. Okay, so this will be, I think, easier for you to understand. For example, when you are driving a car and you are stopped at a traffic signal, so there are three colors you can see: red, amber and green. So these colors, red means for a driver, red means stop, and amber means wait, ready to go, and green means go. Okay, so these three colors, they actually mean something as a part of a system. Now colors, when we use colors, these are non-verbal mode of communication, not verbal, because we are not saying the word or we are not writing the word. Just a color is used to communicate. 3 colors used to communicate 3 different ideas. Stop, be ready, go. So it is definitely on the point of agreement between the people who actually are using this mode of communication, that this color means this color stands for this, and this color will stand for this. So we have made this agreement. So you can actually use the same color for a different meaning. For example, when you are in a football field, you are watching a game of football, you find the referee showing different cards. Red card means something, red card means for the player it means you are out, and yellow card means you are okay now, but next time you make the same offense, you are out. So that means a warning. So red means you are out and yellow means a warning. So this is agreed upon. So those who watch football, those who know football, and those who understand the game, they understand the meaning of the different colors there. Outside that, outside that group of people who understand football, the colors will not mean anything or will not be representing anything like out or they will not represent anything at all. They will not understand the meaning of the colors. So it is agreed upon between the football lovers and the football players and the referee that this color will mean this color will mean that. Now we have so far been discussing about different communication, how communication makes meaning. So you can see that here we have talked about 2 different modes of communication. One is word, when we use like the word cat, the word hat, the word heart, tiger, lion. So these are words that are used to communicate, as well as we have talked about colors, red, yellow, green maybe. Okay, so communication therefore involves both words as well as something that is beyond words and languages, which we call non-verbal mode of communication. So first I'll tell you about verbal. What is verbal communication? Once again, write down this standard definition. Verbal communication is a mode of communication which uses words and language. Verbal communication is a mode of communication which uses words and language. Here you should not confuse between verbal and oral. Colloquially, we use verbal and oral as synonyms. They are same. But in linguistics, verbal communication means communication which uses words. It may be oral or it may be written. Spoken or written. So when we use words in the spoken form or in the written form, it is verbal communication. So I think you know different types of verbal communication. You have been learning in your school, you have been learning reading skills, writing skills and speaking skills, as well as you have been always listening to English or any other language. So verbal communication therefore has these different types. You can note down: reading, writing, speaking and listening. These are all parts of verbal communication. Okay. As a process, when we acquire a language, can you tell me which comes first? Reading, speaking, listening or writing? Which comes first when you acquire a language? In a natural process, I'll tell you, the first step is listening. First you listen to words as spoken. When a child learns language, how does the child learn? The child first listens to its parents and its guardians, even friends. The child listens and then the child tries to imitate, tries to reproduce those words as it has listened. So therefore the first step is listening, which very often happens unconsciously. The child is not aware that it is learning a language, but unconsciously it is learning those words as spoken by the guardians. So therefore, listening sometimes in a natural process may happen unconsciously. At an advanced stage also it happens unconsciously. For example, when you are watching a movie, for example an English movie, you are not always aware that you are learning a language. When you are watching a movie or listening to some television news or any documentary on television or any speech or anything, when you are listening any language, sometimes you are not conscious that you are actually learning those words and sentence structures, but you are learning. You may not be aware of the fact that you are learning. So this is the unconscious part of language acquisition. It happens mostly in case of listening. Okay. Second stage should be speaking. After the child has listened enough number of words, it tries to imitate and reproduce those words and tries to communicate through spoken words. At an advanced level, it happens the same. When you come to a classroom, you first listen to your teachers, and then you try to reproduce sentences on the basis of your unconscious assimilation of the language. So the second step should be speaking. The third step should be reading. Okay, after you have learned a few words, after you have learned to produce produce those words and sentences, the next step is reading. You have to read. Okay, the more you read, the more your learning becomes perfect. So you have to read books, you have to read journals, all reading materials that are available for you, any kind of stories or any kind of newspapers, anything that you can lay your hand on. So you read, and the fourth step, the last step, should be writing. After you have read enough materials, now you are in a position to also write grammatically correct sentences. Okay, so sometimes grammar, actually reading formal grammar sometimes may not be necessary to acquire communication or acquire your ability to use a language. Grammar, yes, we have grammar at school level, even in college level sometimes you are learning grammars, but actually grammar may not be very important. Sometimes those that have learned no grammar, they can also use sentences correctly. They can also speak correct language. So grammar may not be an essential factor towards learning or acquiring a language, be mother tongue or a foreign language. But yes, grammar helps you. Sometimes it is said that in case of written English, you have to be very formal, you have to be grammatically correct, you have to use correct English. So in that case, sometimes grammar reading or understanding grammar may be essential to some extent. But grammar is not essential, I think, in communication in the spoken form. Okay. Now let us come to, we will later in this class, we will look at the reading skill. That is one type of verbal communication. We cannot discuss all topics in this class. So I have chosen one topic, that is reading skills for this class. Now our focus now will be non-verbal. Okay, so reading is a verbal communication, as I have told you. Now let us look at non-verbal. What is non-verbal? Once again I will ask you to please write down the standard definition of non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is a mode of communication. Non-verbal communication is a mode of communication that uses anything other than written or spoken language. Okay. Non-verbal mode of communication is a communication or a type of communication that uses anything other than written or spoken language. I have used the word anything. So anything, what does this anything mean? I will tell you step by step, one by one. It may be color, it may be pictures, it may be diagrams, graphs, charts, different types of pie chart, flow chart, and line chart. It may be different. Those who are from science department, they will know. They use graphs and charts very often in science. Okay, and auditory signals as well as body language. Okay, so we will look at this one by one, and also paralanguage. Okay, so let us have a look at this one by one. Yes, colors. I think we have discussed some part of this before. Color is used to symbolize different ideas. For example, a red flag in a battlefield, a red flag communicates something. It communicates attitude of hostility. Whereas a white flag communicates peace or surrender. Okay. So in traffic signal, I told you how color is made to mean different ideas. In a football field, how color is used to mean different ideas. Okay, so color. There are different colors that mean different or that convey different ideas or personality as well. Okay, I'll give you this to work out. Please find out how color is used to communicate in different contexts. Okay, this is your you can say homework. Okay, so please find out how different colors is used to, or different colors are used to symbolize different ideas in different contexts. Okay, you got to find out, and we will discuss in the next class. Okay, pictures. Pictures are a very important tool of communication. Non-verbal, definitely. Once again, non-verbal, because here we are not using words or language. We are not using words or language. Therefore, it is non-verbal. So, picture. When you go to the toilet, for example, you have ladies' toilet, gents' toilet. Okay, so you have picture of a male figure to mean a gents' toilet, and picture of a female figure to mean a ladies' toilet, and a differently abled person. Picture of a differently abled person will mean toilet for differently abled persons. Okay, so here you are using pictures. Okay, in a traffic signal, once again they use colors as well as pictures. Okay, so a double bend, for example, as a road sign, as you know. A girl in a traffic post, a girl running with a school bag will stand for school ahead. Okay, a human skull will stand for danger. Okay, as you know. Smoke, okay, will stand for fire. Okay, that there is a possibility or danger of fire. Okay, so different pictures, as I told you, stand for different ideas. So pictures are an important mode of communication, non-verbal mode of communication. Okay, and apart from pictures, auditory signals, that is sound. Okay, once again, in a football field, the referee uses different whistles, and the football lovers, they understand the meaning of the whistles. The game is ready to go off. Okay, a kind of whistle. The half time, for example, the referee uses a different type of whistle, and the game is end with a different type of whistle. So here the referee is using sound to mean ideas, only sound to mean ideas. Okay, and think of a railway station. When you are in a railway station, the train drivers, they use different type of horns to communicate to the guard, or to communicate to the gateman, sometimes to communicate to the station master. They use different type of horns, repeated horns, long horns, short horns. Okay, so it's a part of making meaning. Okay, so sounds are important mode of communication. Siren, for example, the siren of an ambulance. When the ambulance moves with a particular siren, you know that stands for emergency, that there is an emergency. So here sound stands for an idea. Okay, so sound, and you also have signals. different type of signals to mean different ideas. Okay, signals can be a part of body language as well. We will discuss body language now. So what is body language? I think you all know. Body language is how you carry or communicate your meaning through movement of your body, through your postures, through different gestures, through your appearance, and there are many other modes of communicating ideas through your body language. Let us have a look at this. First, appearance. Okay, some people, for example, appear very casual. They don't speak too much. Some people appear very formal in their dress, in their appearance. They are very hygienic. They always appear clean, well shaved. Okay, so that is a part of body language, that they are conveying the idea of formality through their well taken care of appearance in their dress, in their expressions. Okay, so body language, appearance, and it can be clothing, a part of your appearance, and expression of your face. When you greet somebody with a smile, okay, smile is a body language. When you greet somebody with a smile, that should mean you are friendly, you are easy, and you are asking the person to be friendly, and you are actually welcoming the person with a warm smile. So smile is a very powerful part of body language. And there are other types of body language, for example, that has cultural meaning. Handshake, shaking your hands, for example, it stands for friendliness, stands for welcome, it stands for good understanding between two people. Now because this body language has been globalized, people everywhere use handshake when they meet. I mean, they shake their hands when they meet for the first time, or when they meet in an official meeting or any situation, they use handshake. In India, for example, we use namaste, which is also part of body language, that you are welcoming somebody, you are asking somebody to be easy, and you are actually showing respect to somebody. Now body languages are cultural sensitive. These are sensitive to culture. Okay, when somebody, for example, will extend their hand towards you, you always have to shake hands. If you don't shake hands when somebody is extending hand towards you, that will mean that you are not culturally sensitive. You are rather rigid, and you are rather unfriendly. So yes, you can also use your own cultural expressions, but first you have to shake hands, then you can say namaste. And the other person in front of you, person should also shake hands and say namaste. So this actually stands for good understanding, cultural understanding. Okay, it can be gender sensitive as well. In some cultures, it is okay when you meet a lady for the first time, or when you meet a lady after a long time maybe, or when you meet a lady in any situation for the first time. In some cultures, it is okay to gently kiss on the cheek, but in some cultures it may not be. It may be an offense. So in some culture it is okay, it is actually good. In some cultures it may not be good. So like giving a tight hug. In some culture they don't prefer this, giving a hug to a person when you meet. In some cultures it may be okay, it may be good. So you have to be culturally sensitive when you are using your body language. Okay, so culture sensitivity is important in case of body language. Okay, now we come to another part of non-verbal mode of communication, paralanguage. Please take a note, paralanguage. What is paralanguage? Paralanguage is any expressions or any part of expression which you use alongside with verbal communication. So like for example, when you are speaking, you are using a verbal mode of communication, that is language and words. But are you always speaking in the same voice, in the same tone, in the same modulation, or at the same pitch? No. You are sometimes changing your tone, you are sometimes changing your pitch, sometimes you are giving a pause, sometimes you are silent, sometimes you are speaking too fast, sometimes you are speaking maybe too slow. So that is a part of paralanguage. Okay, so a paralanguage is also an important mode of communication as a non-verbal mode of communication. I have pointed out a few modes of paralanguage, including tone. You can note down tone. Tone refers to the quality of the voice, quality of your voice when you speak. Volume. Volume refers to the loudness of your voice, whether you are loud or you are soft. Okay. And pitch. You may be speaking at a high pitch, you may be speaking at a low pitch, depending on the situation. When you have a large audience to address, sometimes we use high pitch and a high volume, because we have to communicate to the last bench. When we have a small audience, a small group of people listening, generally we use low pitch and a low volume. So therefore it's also important that you use the correct pitch and volume while speaking. Pronunciation. It may be a bit difficult. For example, when you are speaking English, is there any standard English pronunciation? In India now we talk about Indian English, and as you know, there is a British English that uses the BBC standard pronunciation. Okay, the accent, standard British accent, and there is also American English. So when we speak as an Indian, I don't think that accent we should not try to imitate British or American or any other standard pronunciation. It will be always better for us to speak in our natural mode of pronunciation and natural mode of accent, because it's difficult for a foreign speaker, somebody who is using a foreign language, to acquire the native accent. Therefore it should be avoided. Stress. When you use, for example, you are using a sentence, it may be a long sentence. Okay, take for example this. What? In my house. Now it depends on the pattern of stress to make the meaning of this sentence. If you stress this word, what? In my house. What? In my house. That means she is shocked that the murder has been happened in her house. Okay, it could have been done anywhere else, but she is shocked that the murder has been committed in her house. So what? In my house. Now if she stresses this part of the sentence, what? In my house. In my house. Okay, so this shows that maybe outside my house it is okay, but in my house, inside my house. Okay, and if she stresses this part of the sentence, what? In my house. Okay, so this could mean different. Okay, so depending on the pattern of your stress, the sentence could mean different. Your sentence could mean different things depending on the pattern of your stress. Okay, so you can work out some sentences, and you can also work out how stress patterns can change the meaning of the sentence or can convey different meanings. This is also a part of your homework. Please write down a few sentences and try to show how stress pattern, that pattern of stress, which particular word of the sentence you are stressing can mean different depending on the part of the sentence that you are stressing. Okay, so and the last is silence. When you are speaking or you are listening, sometimes we are sometimes silent. When you are listening, for example, you are silent for a long time, that may communicate the idea that maybe you are not interested, or maybe you are not getting the point, therefore you are silent, you are not taking part in the communication process. When you are speaking, you become silent suddenly. It could mean that maybe you are not very clear about what you are going to say, so you need some moments to think before you say something further. Or it may be that you are waiting for a response from the audience, you are waiting for a feedback. Okay, so it can be more complex, it can be psychological. When you are silent while interacting or while discussing any topic, you become silent. It can be psychological as well. It can mean something, some problem with your understanding with the person, some problem with your relation with the person. It can be some problem with your mode of articulation. Maybe you are not able to articulate because of some reason, you are not able to say what you want to say. Now there is a saying that if you cannot say it clearly, perhaps you don't understand it clearly. So this is very important. Sometimes some people, they may have some ideas that they understand, they think that they understand, but when speaking, when they are asked to speak out about the ideas, or when they are required to speak out, sometimes they fail. They cannot speak out the ideas. Maybe they think that they understand, but they cannot speak out the ideas. Now, according to Albert Einstein, the scientist, he said that if you cannot say it clearly enough, chances are that you don't understand it clearly enough. It may be quite difficult for us to accept, because sometimes we think that maybe I know, but I cannot communicate, I cannot say it out. Okay, so in that case, sometimes we are silent because we cannot communicate our ideas properly. So while acquiring the skills of communication, you also have to acquire a skill of clear thinking. If you can think clearly, you can speak clearly. If your thoughts are clear, well organized, if your thoughts are if your thoughts are based on your understanding, I think you will be able to speak as well. But if your thoughts are vague, if your thoughts are unclear, if your thoughts are not clear to yourself, when you speak, you will not be able to communicate properly. You will not be able to speak your ideas properly. In this class, we have discussed different types of communication, including verbal and non-verbal communication, with stress on non-verbal, including different types of non-verbal communication. And for the next class, I will ask you to make a chart of different types of non-verbal communication with their examples and their importance or their relevance in communication. Once again, I will repeat, make a chart of different types of non-verbal communication with their examples and their importance or relevance in communication. Okay, thank you. Next, we will look at reading skills or reading comprehension. Reading, as I told you before, is a part of verbal mode of communication, because reading involves language and words. When you read a particular language with words. Therefore, it's a part of verbal communication. There are other types of verbal communication which we will discuss later. So now let us focus on reading skills. The first question that I would like to ask you, what do you read for? When do you read something? When you read something, what do you read for? Do you read for only information? Or do you read for something beyond information? I should say, when we read, we should read for information. We read for information as well as we read for meanings and point of views. When we read a particular, for example, a newspaper article, there may be a lot of information in it. Like a newspaper article regarding India's economics, there will be a lot of statistics, lot of informations, dates, lot of charts, lot of info. It may be packed with information. But at the same time, we are also trying to look at the author's point of view, the writer's point of view, what the writer is trying to mean, or what the writer is trying to say about India's economy, whether the writer is satisfied with, say, for example, GST, the implementation of GST. So is the writer supporting the GST, or the writer is actually against the GST, that is goods and services tax. So we are not only reading for information, we are also reading to understand the writer's point of view, the writer's take on the particular topic. So therefore, when you read, I will tell you that try to acquire informations, all particular informations, as well as try to understand what the writer is trying to tell through all the informations, through all the statistics or all the charts and graphs, whether the writer is supporting a particular idea, or the writer is opposing a particular idea, or the writer is disappointed with something, or the writer is supporting something. So I have just given one example. It may be a story, for example. When you read a short story or a poem, you don't just read for information, you also read for the meaning. You have to make meaning of it. Unless you make the meaning of it, your reading is not successful, your reading is not complete. So how do you read? When you read, for example, you read a passage, a prose, I will tell you, or it may be a poem, a stanza of a poem. We will discuss this probably later. Now we don't have that much time probably, so I'll be short about this. First, try to read it fast. You have to try to read it fast, so that you get a general idea about what the passage or the stanza is saying. Try to read it fast as a part of your reading skill. First try to read it quickly, and then give a second reading. When you are giving a second reading, make it slow. Read slowly and use a pencil. Okay, with your pencil, underline all the important informations, or important words, or important meanings that is carrying the writer's point of view or attitude. So all the important points that you think are essential to the understanding, please underline with a pencil. Okay. Next step, maybe there are a few words of which you are not very sure. You are not very sure what these words mean. Okay. So when you read a passage or a stanza, sometimes you are faced with new words. How do you understand the meaning of the new words? You are not always carrying a dictionary, or you are not always searching your online dictionary. So sometimes maybe you have to make meaning yourself without the help of a dictionary. That is the best way to try to understand the meaning of a word, a new word. Try to understand it through your own ability to understand it by using the context. Okay, you have to contextualize the word, and from the context you have to try to understand the meaning. First you try to guess the meaning from the context, because words are not used independently. All words are used in context. So look at the sentence and find out the context. What should the word mean? Okay, try to understand or guess the meaning of the word. Sometimes you will be right. In most cases, your guess will be right. If you can understand the context, the meaning will be right, even if it is an unknown word. Okay, but don't forget to check it when you have time enough, when you have the chance, opportunity. Please check it. Please look up for the meaning of the word in a dictionary. When you have time enough, when you are reading a newspaper, you cannot always look up in the dictionary. So underline the word. Sometimes you can note down the word, and when you have time enough, match it with your dictionary, whether your guess was right or wrong. Sometimes you find that your guess was not right. So you have to then note down the meaning of the word, and you have to repeat the word in your writing. When you write or when you speak, you have to try to use the word correctly. So you don't acquire words by just reading or by just looking up in a dictionary. You acquire a word, first you learn the word, the meaning of it, the spelling of it, the pronunciation of it, and then you have to use it. Unless you use the word, you cannot acquire the word. You will forget. So unknown words, first try to guess the meaning from the context. Next step, try to match up with a dictionary whether your guess was right or wrong, and note down the proper meaning from the dictionary. And the third step will be use the word in your writing or in your speech. Okay. Now that you do later. When you are reading in a classroom, or for example, when you are in an exam, when you are writing for an exam, you don't have the time to, or you don't have the chance to look up for the word in a dictionary. So there I'm not talking about that. It's part of your learning, but in the exam hall, what you do, you have to do these guessworks, and you have to then try to make a meaning of the entire passage. So you have to read the passage now slowly and make the meaning. In the third step, you have to look at the questions, okay, because reading comprehension also involves question answer. So in the third step, you will look at the questions, and then you have to try to find out the answer of those questions from the passage, one by one. You have already underlined the important words and informations and important lines, so it will be easy for you now to find out the answer to the questions. Sometimes the questions will be informative questions. You have to then look up for the informations. You have already underlined the informations, you will find the answers. Sometimes the questions will be regarding the meaning, and you have to then depend on your ability to make meaning of the passage. Okay, a coherent meaning, understandable meaning. Okay, so I hope if you go by this, first read slow, then read first read fast, then slow down, that means read slow, and here underline all important informations, or lines which you think are important to the understanding of the passage. So use a pencil, underline all important parts. The third step should be look at the questions. Sorry. Look at the questions, okay, and one by one try to find out the answers to those questions from the passage. You have already underlined important information and important lines, so I think it will be easier for you to find out the answers. In the last step, you write down your answers. And check. From the passage, once again read it and check whether your answers are correct. Give a final, reading and a final checking of your answers. I think if you go by these, steps, I think you can acquire a good, comprehension, skill of comprehension. Okay, thank you. So we will come for the next class in some later classes. Thank you all. Bye.